Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for part 2 of the Monday Q&As. So let's knock this out. First question. Hey Jason, I've been doing face pulls with bands for a year, but have gotten to the point where I can do 30 plus rep sets. Can you suggest a free weight alternative? P.S. Thank you for the previous advice. I now have my mom doing barbell squats, which has improved her general health. I can't thank you enough for that. You are most welcome, brother. As far as the face pulls go, just like with any other lift, increase resistance. You used a fairly light band if you're at 30 with only a year. Step up to a heavier band. Step up to the next band and work your way up till you're as equally strong on those. It's just like any other exercise, you use various resistance. If you don't have access to thicker bands, loop up 2 of the smaller bands and use 2 bands and double your resistance. It's pretty easy. In fact, I would say you could use, if you're doing 30 reps with a given lighter, really light band, then use 2 of that band and it'll drop down to 10 reps. So instead of just using 1, go ahead and use 2 bands on the exercise if you don't have access to really thick ones, or save your money and pay $10 for a thicker band. There is no free weight exercise that replicates what the band face pull can do, not entirely. All right, next question. Is there any noticeable difference to increased strength results doing cardio before or after weights? Yes, very much. If you do cardio before you do weight training, you should expect to gain less muscle and gain less strength as a result of your weight training. You're fatiguing yourself and using energy at first that you need for your weight training. It is far more intense training and you don't want to be fatigued when you do it. If you feel the need for whatever reason to do cardio and weightlifting immediately close together, I'm going to recommend that you only do this for fat loss goals because it will slightly compromise your strength gains. But it is fantastic for fat loss. Do your cardio immediately after your weight training. If you feel the need to do them together, do not do cardio beforehand. The only guys you see doing this who really get away with it are on enough drugs to offset the negative effects. It usually works really well if you're on a lot of drugs, but even then it may not be ideal. That's more, again, for a recompositioning effect or fat loss effect for them. It can still be compromising their gains just a small amount. All right, next question. Hey Jason, is it possible to do your linear hypertrophy program on a cut, or is there a cutting version of your program? Thanks. Yeah, you can absolutely do it on a cut. You just need to pay very, very close attention to intensity, and you may have to reduce the weight as you go, meaning you can try to run the program and follow the prescribed weight increases, but you might find that they become too much for you to do while cutting and not consuming enough calories to recover from it. So what you might find is that you can't do the weight increases at the prescribed rate. You might need to do them at half or less, or you might not be able to increase the weight at all as you go. So what you may have to do is that when you get to the points of the program where you're increasing sets from week to week, you might have to reduce the weight just 2 or 3% as those weeks progress just to keep up with the extra volume. It's going to be very, very difficult for you to do on a cut, but it is doable. Again, you just might have to reduce the prescribed workloads in terms of the weight used on the bar. But there's no reason that you can't grow and adapt on it. If you're more novice and you're not closer to the intermediate range yet, you can probably still get bigger while cutting on it. Just, again, pay very close attention to those prescribed intensities. But many rank novices who are really weak starting out might still be able to run the program as written while on a modest cut. So again, it's going to depend on your experience level and what's going on there and how hard you're actually cutting. But just remember, no program like that with a progression at all should ever be run on a hard cut. Just pick something and stick to it and don't change the weight or the reps from week to week. If you're cutting really fast, just try to hold on to what you have. All right, next question. I really like the effects of a keto diet on my body. No bloat, 6-pack abs, clear mind, etc. But if I stop eating whole wheat bread, I get constipated. I know this is because the constipation clears when I reintroduce it. I replace my dairy and bread-based meals with salads and meats, so I'd say I got an even amount of fiber. What would you think happened, or could you tell me how this is, or how to find out myself? Thanks. The reason you're seeing the difference is because you have a different stool volume on all of the grains versus just the meat and vegetables. So that's the biggest thing you're seeing now. I'm not trying to call you a liar, but to say if you've been eating a significant amount of whole grains and you switch over to a keto diet, you're probably not going to be able to get the same amount of fiber in from veggies. Because what you're going to find is that the insoluble fiber in the veggies is not going to be anywhere near the amount that's in your whole grains for the same volume of food. Those tend to be loaded with fiber, and it's going to be more of the soluble fiber, so it bloats up in your GI tract. And 10 grams of that stuff is going to increase stool volume dramatically more than 10 grams of insoluble fiber from lettuce and broccoli. And it's going to come from a much smaller amount of food. So the reality is you're seeing just a difference in stool volume. So you're used to having much larger and more frequent bowel movements due to all the insoluble fiber from it. So it's not so much the issue that you're pooping less. You're probably not really constipated. And if you are constipated on a ketogenic diet like that, and you are eating vegetables every day, the only other things I would consider is that maybe your fat intake is a little too low. You're probably eating a really, really high protein, lower fat version, because the fat itself can have a mild laxative effect, or you're potentially dehydrating yourself and you need to increase your water intake while you're running it. All right, next question. Eccentric exercises for tendonitis, deal or no deal? I'm going to say no deal. The thing to remember is that any slow eccentric or eccentric based exercises where you're putting a lot of eccentric loading on a muscle intentionally more than normal, you're causing more micro tearing in connective tissue. That can contribute to connective tissue inflammation. So if you've already got an issue with tendonitis causing inflammation in a given set of connective tissue, eccentric loading on that tendon is the last thing that you should be doing. You're just going to exacerbate the situation. So no slow, heavy 5-second negatives on any tendon that already has tendonitis. You're just going to make it worse. Okay, next question. What's your opinion on the John Meadows designed Intra-MD periworkout carb electrolyte supplement? It has highly branched cyclic dextrins. Is there any value here for nutrient timing over cheap old dextrose? I like John Meadows. He's a character. He's a smart dude. However, a product like this is entirely unnecessary. You're just paying for more expensive sugar. Is it going to work any worse than dextrose? Clearly not. It's probably not going to perform any less effectively as time-proven dextrose as an intra-workout. However, it will make you feel better because you've got a cool name on the product and you spent more money on it. It's going to give you about the same results of using any other normal fast-acting glucose-based sugar like dextrose will. Now, the upside of it, I will give him though, for people who are training with really high training volumes or training multiple times a day, peri-workout nutrition that has branched chain amino acids in it may be beneficial. So if he's throwing that in there, and I'm not sure if he is or not, I think he might be. You'll have to check the label on it, but I think there's also BCAAs in there. Again, if you're doing really high volume workouts, there may be some benefits of that. There appears to be some potential benefits for serious athletes on very high volume training by running the BCAAs intra-workout or peri-workout. All right, next question and last question of the week. Pain in sternum after weighted dips. Okay to train through the pain, or is my thorax going to explode? Well, explode's not the right word, but yes, you can crack your sternum by doing that. Not everyone is built structurally to do dips. About 1 in 3 people simply cannot do dips without pain in their center chest. And if you persist in doing that, occasionally guys who get that pain in their sternum end up cracking their sternum, actually fracturing it while doing weighted dips as a result of it. So if you're feeling pain in your sternum, I'm going to recommend that you drop the exercise and find something else. I know dips are a very effective exercise. They're an amazing overall mass builder, but there are other exercises that work just as well, like close grip bench presses. And again, if you seem to be one of those people who's experiencing that pain, you're just not structurally built to do weighted dips. Drop them out of your program, throw some close grip bench presses in there, and you'll be a lot safer. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.